people that are joining us live on our social media platforms. And the topic for today's show is freedom fighters and leadership. And our able guest will be evaluating this topic and we'll be discussing together at length. Just stay put, don't change the dial. And when we are back, we'll be going to the conversation in full. Thank you. Wow, that's a wonderful introduction about what leadership represents and who a leader is from our guest. Okay, this is what we do. Now, I'm coming to you now, Mr. Ruben. And when we're talking about freedom fighters, you understand, we all believe freedom fighters are people that actually create liberations, people that actually fight for liberation for their people. So I would like you to actually go deeper for us. We want people to have a mutual understanding. That's freedom fighter. Those words like freedom and fighter, combining it together. Freedom fighter, what does it represent for a common man?
All right. The word freedom fighter for a common man, let's start from the background, right? When you talk about freedom fighter, it means you sense oppression somewhere. That is why you want to liberate people. Without oppression, there is no need fighting for freedom. The likes of the Bob Marley, Yahya Jammeh of Gambia, Sese Musoko, Libya, and the likes of those people, they sensed an oppression. And this is what you do, you fight an oppression. So someone fighting for freedom becomes a freedom fighter ultimately. But this is the problem we have. Fighting for freedom doesn't necessarily make you a leader. These are two different aspects of the journey.
Okay, sir, before you go deeper there, okay, let me actually cut him now, because a part of what we will actually discuss on the conversation today is comparing those two entities, a leadership and a freedom fighter. Because in a plain narrative, people actually attach those entities together, like, because you are a freedom fighter, automatically you assume the position of leadership. So I'm still coming here, and maybe I should start with you, a going forward one. Now, are you saying now that if you are a leader, or however, if you're a freedom fighter, you deserve a free seat to be a leader? Freedom fighter fighting for people's desires, the liberations, creating the way for people. Do you deserve to be a leader, or being a freedom fighter, you can just I want to be a freedom fighter, however it is?
All right, let's look at it from this. Being a freedom fighter, you get to have a seat at the table. Every community, every generation needs a voice, and that's why you're a freedom fighter. You need a voice. Now, having a seat at the table doesn't make you the leader at the table seat. Now, from history, especially in Africa, all freedom fighters who has gone to be the president besides Nelson Mandela has had terrible endings. Now, it's because it takes something different for you to be a freedom fighter.
Okay, sir, for clarity purpose now, I would like you to give us instances. We want you to attach names. Like you said, few people in Africa as a continent. Right. Now, you refer to that reference, apart from Nelson Mandela, that you actually exclude from that narration. So can you just tell us one or two freedom fighters that end up being a leader and it becomes a mess in the head?
All right, let's start with Gambia.
Okay.
It happened in Gambia about 4 years ago or 6 years ago, in 2015.
Okay.
Yahya Jammeh.
Yes.
He was in the army ranks. He sensed an oppression while he was there as a young lieutenant. And they formed a coup. It was for the good purpose. Every freedom fighting is for the good purpose. You sense something bad, something evil, you try to tackle it and do something, right? But this is it. Yahya Jammeh spent the rest of his tenure looking over his head, and he was actually sent into exile, even by his own people. This was the freedom fighter that liberated them. But at the end of the day, he became the victim. So there is a lot to say about freedom fighting. At times, our freedom fighters, they never know when to sit back and say, hey, you know what? I've taken you to the promised land. Maybe it's time for me to develop.
Mr. Ruben, on the conversation, I can see you, sir. I'm coming, Mr. Olawale. Now, like for you to recap, or better still, just hold on, please. Let me bring you in, sir. Now, I would like you to start with going into the details of what freedom fighter represent, because so many people actually have these basic knowledge. Like when they say freedom fighters, they are activists, nationalists, revolutionaries, and reformists, and so many things around that, like as synonyms to qualify them. But what the word freedom fighter, how does it connote with what we are discussing, what I am discussing currently with him in the conversation?
Okay, let me come in this way. One of the things he said is a freedom fighter can be a leader. But I want to tell you that before you want to fight for freedom, that means you consider something is wrong. Then when you want to fight for freedom, are you going to do the fighting alone? You're not going to do the fighting alone. Definitely, you are going to have people around you. Automatically, you become the leader of that movement. So that is how it goes. There is no way you say you want to become a freedom fighter without some people considering you as a leader. They want to look, they want to hear from you. And as time goes on, some of them want to become like you. Soma was a great leader. He can do this, he can do that. I want to do more than he does. So most of the leaders we have in Africa today, you will see one way or the other, they emerge as a freedom fighter. But the problem, I really like to use Africa as a reference.
Okay.
It's as if we just don't know when to sit back. We don't know when to sit back. We are going for the freedom. Now, before we get to where we want to achieve the freedom, there is no plan on ground that, okay, we will do this, we will do this, we will do that. Nothing like that.
Let me come in, sir. So, naturally, from your explanation now, you actually mentioned Africa as a case study. So, we don't have a preparation before we go into action.
We don't have.
Okay, so in relation to what freedom fighter or freedom fighting represent, okay, I'm coming back to that question briefly because I would like us to be to diversify a bit on the show today. Mr. Hassan, now, imagine this together, fighting for people, being a leader. Do you think if someone fights for a cause, play a big factor for the cause to come to existence, and that cause, just like a revolution, and that cause comes to existence, that person really deserves to be the head, to be the leader?
All right, as my thought, no, he mustn't, because being a freedom fighter and being a leader, it's two different stuff, completely different stuff. Because starting as a freedom fighter, you're fighting for a cause to, I don't know, for example, free people or make their life better or make this world a better place, for example. But being a leader, you need to lead them to greater good. You don't only lead people to have a better life, but you also lead your country to be a better country. That's a big...
So, in the mainstream now, so you're saying there is a quality, there are some qualities expected from leader.
Yes.
And these qualities, it's not a must, it reflects in being a freedom fighter.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly we'll go to a short break, and when we're back, we'll be going into full details about who are the freedom fighters, the notable ones we can talk about in international communities, and the ones we can talk about in current and due time. We'll be back shortly. We are on the show, The Conversation.